Hello, welcome to Joyride Show. We're the Metaphysical Moms. I'm Tiffanie.
And I'm Kerry.
And today we are going to take our
time.
We're going to take our time. We have a little perspective-bending joyride through some quantum mechanics.
Time. We're going to talk about time. But first, I want to tell you what I did this weekend.
What did you did this weekend?
So I went to Mexico with my brother and husband and my sister-in-law and made some new buddies.
Oh, wow.
Nikki and Jim and Leah, and hopefully everybody's on. So we had so much fun. Mexico's awesome.
Just with the adults.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, it's funny. I kept thinking, gosh, this weekend is just so long. And they pointed out that I'm normally in bed by 9:30, and that when you stay up till 2 every night, you really do like tack on a bunch of time.
You have all these extra daylight hours.
Not really. A lot of nightlight hours.
Not on light night hours. So thank you for joining us on Facebook Live. We're so happy to have our Joy Tribe. Please hit like, subscribe, share so that we can grow our tribe.
Okay, also, I have a favor to ask, and I'm curious if this is going to work. So YouTube is monkeying with a bunch of the new rules, and we're trying to get our numbers up over there for subscribers. And you can not hit the ding, so you don't have to know every time we post. If you don't like that, I don't really like that. I mean, I like to know when people post, but it kind of starts to crowd your inbox. So, but we're on the Joyride Show over on YouTube, and we edit all of this stuff and we stick it up there. So that would be great.
That would be great. So we're saying hi Andy, hi Kerry, hi sweetheart, hi Wendy, hi Steve. Thanks everybody for hopping on our Joyride. And if you're joining us later on
Steve.
YouTube, be sure to join us. We're usually Tuesday mornings.
Hi Bobby.
10:30 Central Time. We do live, and we love this to be an interactive show where we hear all the things that you guys have going on. You can share, meet more people in our community. So jump in.
Yeah. All right. So let's wait. What about
Well, no,
you? What did you do this
okay. So
weekend?
this weekend, I went to Florida. We both were out of town. It's rare that we both leave town without our kids, but I went to Florida to a beautiful mom's retreat for mothers who have children with this very rare condition like my child has called FOP, and there were 45 moms from all over the world who came together.
Wow.
Some have very young children, some are now adults. And we laughed, we cried, we shared, we held each other up, we faced our fears, we looked at the joys. It was, oh my gosh, it was a little exhausting in a good way, because it really stretched and bent us. And now I have, 100 new friends or 45 new friends. And thank you to the people who put it on, because it was a lot of work. It was beautiful.
And I think, from my perspective, shifting it back to me, I walk beside you, but I don't know. I don't really know. And so I love that you get to have that time with people that you don't have to explain it to.
That's what the thing is, like, you get it. So when you find your tribe, when you find your group of people, kind of like what we're doing here with our show, we love talking about spiritual perspectives. There's more going on than the 3D reality. And so we love having these conversations just every week, popping in, saying, what's going on with you? What's going on with you? And have you thought about this? And this worked for me.
That. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so you want to jump? You want to dive?
Jumping now. I'm just saying hi to good morning. Good morning.
Birdie, I miss you, Birdie.
And Birdie and Melanie and
stuff.
Sue, Connie. Oh, we love you.
So Birdie is our buddy from New Braunfels. She's our sister, and she just in her kitchen sink, she started creating these creams and these oils and they're amazing. It's like whipped butter, and it never fell. I mean, it's not, it lasts
like a souffle that does not fall. It's from
it's
tallow.
all natural.
Tallow bird,
right? Exactly.
Shout out for Tallow Bird. Birdie, drop your email, your website or whatever in here. People can check it out.
It's great stuff.
Hi, Marianne.
Hi, everybody. Okay, so my guides are, a while back, actually it was like New Year's Day, they said, okay, this is just start to write, show topics, show ideas, and I mean, some of them we have some great ones in the
coming down the line
in the works, and they're funny. But they wanted to talk about time and dimensions and time hopping and
Mandela Effect and
quantum physics, and I mean, there's all kinds of really, really cool stuff. And so, and we plan on we'll do a show, and then maybe a couple weeks after that, we'll add to that show so that you guys don't get bored with having the same topic every week for a while. So time. We're going to talk about time. And I just heard time. You remember that song?
I was singing, it's a Wilson Phillips or something? No, who is it?
See what you've done to me. That one?
Yeah, who sings that?
Who sings that song?
We're all singing it in our heads now. We can hear it.
It's gone. Anyway, so that's where we're going to start here, and we both, Tiffanie and I, true to form. You know, I always say that I'm way up there and just sort of barely with a foot on the ground, and you are grounded in Mama Earth, and it's just so beautiful. And so she did her research this way, and I did my research this way, and it's interesting how I channeled it and it came in. Actually, and then you researched but we kind of got the same stuff, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, love it. Such a mind-bending perspective to think that time is not what we think when we're here in the 3D, and it's past, it's present, it's future, it's this o'clock, it's that o'clock, we're going to meet here and there. It's such a concept to think that is an entirely abstract concept that we've created. It doesn't actually exist. So we're going to kind of dive into that today.
And anytime you read things, like you read Cryon or Bashar, they all say the same thing, which is time's not real. It's like, what do you mean time's not real? How can time not be real? Or how, if something happens now, it actually already happened, or it'll happen at a different date. I mean, it's like everything happens at the exact same time. Well, how do we wrap our brain around that? Because that is a tough one. So my guide said, okay, let's start here. And where should we start? Because I don't want to just read. But
we are going to be reading some of this today because I want to get it right, and I don't want to sound like a 3-year-old trying to explain these big concepts. But I love this concept, time. It's what keeps everything from happening all at once.
Ooh, that's good.
But everything is all happening at once. So as a human experience,
it's a slow start.
Okay, so I love this. Clocks can tell what time it is, but it cannot tell what time is. And so time, as a definition, is we measure events from the past, the present, into the future. We use it to measure duration and intervals. It's considered a 4D, but it's very earth plane. And there's been two very contrasting viewpoints in philosophy, many different philosophies over time. And one of them is that it's a fundamental structure of the universe, that it exists, and we are all moving through it. Like it's a concrete structure, and we're all part of it, and we're moving through it. That's a very Newtonian way of looking at the universe. Or the second viewpoint is that it's a completely human intellectual structure, and that's where quantum mechanics coming in, saying that there is no time. Everything is happening in the now moment, and that we've just created it. It has no influence unless it's from your perspective.
Right. Nope. That's
right?
true.
Okay. We're done.
We're done. Well, okay. Well, when you said that, what that makes me think of is like a bird or a snake. You know, they busy themselves with eating, dying. That's it. I mean, like they eat, they sleep, they die. So there is no time because they're only in the now. Okay. So I want to talk.
Jump in.
Okay. So that is. This really is a difficult one to get off the ground. So my guides wanted to start with, we created it, that when we come to this 3D plane, this 3D, 4D plane, everything has to have a box. You know, we're on the other side, we're spirit, we're energy. I can merge with you, I can merge with Bobby, I can merge with you guys. There is no such thing as time and space, and so your awareness is everywhere you want it to be, right? So when we come into this, we have containers. Containers hold everything. They hold our bodies, our clothes, hold our skin. I've often thought about the idea that, you know, I'm sitting in a room that's in a house, that's on a street, that's in a neighborhood. Like everything has its structure and its form, because like you said, otherwise everything would be everywhere. You know, I mean, it's like mass chaos, right? So, and that's what time is. Time is a constraint, and it's only in this plane, and it keeps everything organized. And this is, I love this example. So let's say I have a call with Tiffanie in Houston at 4 a.m. Or actually 4 p.m.
Don't get me up that early.
Yeah, okay, 4 p.m. And then our girlfriend Siri in Australia, and at the exact same time, and then I'm on an airplane flying. So for her, it's 4, in the evening on Tuesday. For my friend, it's 6 a.m. the next day. And for me, I'm in space above time I'm in a plane. So I don't know if that makes sense. It's like that's where you can rise above time and see it as just this,
Like, what time am I in?
like
You're-
a
you're in
framework.
no time.
That's
Yeah.
all it is, right?
So we've developed this system of time based on our planetary rotation of dark and light around the sun.
Right.
But it's arbitrary. We've just made it up.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep. But we have to, in order, as you said, in order to move through these different experiences. So another thing that they really wanted to stress time, and as time speeds up or time slows down, kind of that whole concept. I mean, we've all been somewhere and it's like, oh my God, I can't believe it's already 5 a.m. And I stayed up all night and I thought it was 1. Well, that's because you're in a good place, you're happy, you're distracted, and time, as you elevate, time does too. Where if you're sad and you're bogged down, time seems to go slower, right?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so, anyway.
So, okay, I'm going to jump in here because Steve is saying hazy shade of winter. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Annalena, one of my FOP moms. Thank you for watching. Oh, it's so nice to see you. Trisha, Cyndi Lauper, Time After Time, another great
That's
song.
another one.
Okay, Andy is saying time doesn't exist. I was given this answer in 1999, and my quest has been to find the question to that answer. I love that. Time doesn't exist is the answer. What's the question? No time. Timing matters. Steve, thank you. Birdie's telling us about Tallow Carrie is saying she talks to Merlin. So this is Carrie from the Shiny Show, and Carrie and her fabulous friends talk to all kinds of cool people. She's saying when I spoke to Merlin, he really put this time thing into perspective. He doesn't use time. He just did whatever, whenever. He wasn't even sure how long he lived. We do everything by the clock, and it tells us when to eat, when to sleep, when to meet up. But other people don't exist in that time frame reality. Isn't that amazing?
Mm-hmm. We are going to go to that because I would really love to talk about other time benders.
And Jennifer is saying Eric. This is Eric from Channeling Eric. And yes, I'm going to be talking about how Eric interprets time too, because he's saying everything's happening at once. It's all stacked on top of each other. And they had described it as, I've heard Bashar talk about it as a film strip, where each frame is like a moment in time. And when you put all these moments in time in rapid succession, you get this feeling of flow, of movement, of time. But actually each frame is an individual moment in the now. Does that make sense? The time in the film strip.
Mm-hmm.
And so that we can, as a human, we're seeing it through the projector as this flow of time, but your higher self can see all of these little frames and see the whole film strip all at once. But we can only see each little film strip as each little frame as it's happening.
Well, and that's why they say that as you move past something, let's say if I'm 20 years old and I'm naughty and I do things and then I feel bad about what I do, when enough time frame, when you let it go and enough frames or cells are between you and that experience, then it gets smaller and smaller. It diminishes.
Isn't that so cool?
Yeah, it is cool.
So everybody's chiming in that they're all having this agreement that yes, time is all happening in the now, present and future are layered. This is Wendy jumping in, so it's all happening in the now. Everything we do affects the realities forward and backwards across timelines, and we've definitely known that to be true.
We absolutely have, and I want to tell you about that. I think I've mentioned this before, but I want to tell you a little bit more about what my guide said, because it is, and I was trying to just, I wrote it last week and then I forgot about it, and then I told you about it this morning, so I haven't. So I'm going to read. All right, so I basically, they asked me, or I said, let's see, 3D, it has serious context and constraint issues. This where we live now, as you've often thought, everything has a box or a structure. You humans must have framework in order to grow and evolve. This structure begins with the physical body. Your body houses the energy, the energetic forms that divide you. So we came here to be divided. We came here to experience
Separation and relationship, yeah.
That must be why I love baskets. I love baskets and purses.
'Cause they
Anything
hold
that holds things. Yeah. All right. So we do need and that's exactly what you had said, that we need the physical beginnings and the endings. We need the boundaries. And but it's weird how we're always trying to get rid of that feeling of separation. I will go on record again that I love not being part of the soup.
She really enjoying being a human, having a physical identity in time and space. Carrie's totally into it, and many of us are like, "It's hard. I want to get out of here. Put me back in the soup."
Yeah, I don't want to be in the soup. Okay,
Somewhere in the middle.
Your body is a container of your energetic pattern. Your clothes contain your body, as I said. Your home contains your stuff, so on and so forth. Your lifespan contains your time here on Earth. Time is your binder to the reality you chose to come into. This is a structure that houses and glues everyone together. And so that's true, because time does glue us together. And I guess it's more of our actions.
It gives us a collective consciousness that we can all agree to show up at a time, or this happened in the past. It gives us a framework to move through this time and space.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the clock, the hours, the minutes, the seconds. But there have been amazing quantum mechanics and the time-space continuum, and Einstein's work on all the theory of relativity, having an atomic clock on Earth. This is a famous experiment in the 70s, and they put an atomic clock in a jet and flew it around the Earth. And when they got back together, the atomic clocks no longer matched, proving that the faster you are moving through time and space, the slower time goes.
Okay, and that's interesting, because I think that's just mind-boggling. Okay, and so that's exactly where we're being led. Okay, okay. So then I asked them, but is time speeding up in a large scale? And they said it actually bends. I have no idea. I've never studied this, so please tell me if this is what you guys know or don't know. It's bending. Okay, and then they asked me to write what I saw, because I'll see a vision, or I'll see it, and everything typically just goes right past. And they're like, no, stop, go into that idea. And I saw the Earth, and it was suspended in space. I saw like a slingshot flinging around the Earth, like momentum. You know how like you
Mm-hmm.
and it goes around. And so is time speeding up? And they said, yes. Do you know why? And it said, because of where we are in space. Okay, how does the physical location impact where we are in relationship to time? And they said, what do you see? It said, I see time around. Time is it kind of bends. It sort of folds over, but not quite. It's sort of. It may be better to say it's sort of like a concave. And they said, yes. So there are invisible forces. There we go.
Thank you.
Bending the fabric of time. And they said, yeah, perfect. It said, okay, why? And Albert Einstein, originally he came in, but I don't think it was really him. And I asked if
Einstein
he could help.
came in to talk to Carrie in her meditation, in her writing, and she's like, this can't be Einstein. It was Einstein.
I let him go. Okay. And they said, can you help? And they said, and they're showing me that space with a grid, and it slowly moves. And they said, think of a net that floats on waves, like a fisherman's net. On the ocean, and it's always, and it kind of moves around. And it said, so that's making the waves, or what makes the waves move? And they said, consciousness. Pretty cool. Dun, 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 dun. And it said, connect these dots. Okay, so this is it. I'm almost done. It said, I'll give it a go.
No, slow down. I want to hear this.
Okay. Where the Earth is located in its cycle, so we're talking like that 26,000 year cycle that all these different tribes talk about, and it affects the consciousness. Where it's located affects the consciousness, which in turn affects time. When consciousness is raised, more people asleep wake up. The Earth's frequency is beginning to raise. And as I said before, when you are in a state of love and joy, time seems to go by faster. When you are in pain, or way down here, it seems to go slower. So somehow this affects the rate at which we are ascending. And they asked me what I just saw, and I said, I saw people are at a concert, and you know when people kind of raise their lighter, and there's like one or two, and then all of a sudden there are a ton of them. It says it's totally dark. As people raise their hands up, it gets lighter. And as more people raise their light, the darkness goes completely away. There is a tipping point, by the way. Once enough people raise their light, it's light and the darkness no longer exists, even if no one else raises their arm. Cool. So basically what they say is that time speeds up, and that because time is speeding up, and because we're ascending, time is speeding up. And we're going faster through that process.
So
Does that even make sense?
yeah, Sue was saying somehow this is more. This is larger than our brain can understand, but we're trying to bring all this time to present and be in the present, like Rolfing for time and dimensions, bringing all things to the now.
Wow.
Yeah, and I've practiced with. Thank you for that, Sue. I've practiced bending time. If I'm running late, I feel like I'm running late to something, and I know I've got to get from here to here, and I don't know how I'm possibly going to get there on time. I will stay in a high vibration and imagine myself getting there, and it's like the traffic parts, the lights go green.
Do you remember that?
I show up and I'm 5 minutes early. I'm like, okay, that was really cool.
You did that every time we would go out to the
We
circle.
were going to a meetup group, and every time I would drive, they'd be like, we're here like 20, 30 minutes early. It's like we'd bend time
She did it twice.
to get there. And also trusting those intuitive hits. Like if you're sitting somewhere and you get an intuitive hit to call someone, call them, because they might be sitting there at their desk ready to receive the phone call, and you've just bent time instead of having to go through a receptionist and make emails and stuff. You have followed that intuitive hit and kind of bent time to get you to meet somebody at an earlier point in time. So whatever you're working on and creating, follow those intuitive hits, and it does sort of collapse timelines where you're not taking so long to get where your soul wants you to go. Does that make?
Yeah, it does. I
that's
look at August and look how fast she's grown her business. I mean, it is insane.
August Vega created Malk, which is a nut-based milk beverage type drink, and she's gone from mom making it in her kitchen because her son had dairy allergies, to farmers markets, to being nationally distributed and having a huge
She's on every shelf
center,
in the country.
a huge manufacturing facility here, and I mean, she's just rocking it in a very short amount of time. But she's very tuned in, very smart, and following these hits as they come to her.
Yes, and that's so that's our. I think that's sort of like a little bit of a base of time, and I really want to move into the Mandela Effect.
Well, can we? I want to. I thank you so much. Everybody's chiming in here with and I want to give a few minutes.
Oh, Jennifer, I love what she says.
To say hi to everybody, because these are great. Andy's saying time is a human construct, giving us a way to experience contrast. Yes, and
thank you, Trisha.
Trisha is saying, yeah, Trisha Kelly was on just a couple weeks ago.
She's
amazing.
incredible.
Yeah, check her out on our YouTube show. It was beautiful, all about timing and synchronicity and following those intuitive pulls, because it creates things that we couldn't have imagined before. She's saying the only time that is important is the divine timing of allowing and being in the moment. Yes, very well said. And Nora saying higher frequency is faster. So
Nora made a good point yesterday. We were kind of talking about all this, and she is reading a lot of NDEs, near-death experiences, and with when you pass, they all say the same thing. It's like time just stands still. There is no time. I mean, you come back here and it's been seconds, but on that side, it's eternity. Didn't you read the book, The Brain Surgeon That Died?
yeah,
And
Eben Alexander.
I mean, he had an entire book of
He was in
info,
this
and he was gone for how long? I mean, he was in a
relatively short amount of time here, days, weeks, months. But there, he was when his brain was in an altered state. He was in this cosmic soup. His brain was literally eaten by bacteria, but he had a consciousness and awareness. But he said he felt like forever in this soup. This is like a worm in the ground, just forever. And finally, his consciousness raised, and he was able to have this incredible. If you haven't read his book, Eben Alexander, literally a brain surgeon that had a near-death experience. It's remarkable. And Milan is saying that her grief. Sorry about your grief. It's part of why we came here. These really difficult life lessons. But her grief slowed time for me. 2 years felt like 10. Mm. Yes, I'm sure. Oh, good. Tricia says, good channel, Kerry.
Good job.
She's so good at this. She's starting to write and just comes up with, and they'll say, stop, go back, what was that? And, expand on the visual that you just saw.
And at the time, it does not make sense. And then when I go back and read it, it's like, but I can kind of follow it. But then again, it came out of my brain. But I do want to move on.
Yes, moving on to the Mandela Effect.
Okay, so the Mandela Effect, there was this woman, oh gosh, Broom is her last name, and she has a great website, and
Cynthia?
Fiona Broom. And she was, and she noticed at this conference that half the people thought Nelson
Mandela had died
in prison, and then of course the other half knew that he had not, and that he was still, or I think he died in 2013, and so she thought, yeah, that's really bizarre, and so she started doing this research, and it's as a collective, we start feeding this idea that this happened or that happened, and then you think, well, gosh, I guess I just recall that differently, or I didn't know, or but then there are a lot of us that think one way or the other.
Like,
and
no, I know that happened.
bending.
It's like we have a memory of something happening, and then in this current reality, we're like, well, that didn't happen. But collectively, like half of the population remembers it happening that way, and another half says it hasn't happened yet.
I have one. I have a big one. I mean, this one I cannot. I still can't get it in my head the right way. So I always knew that Abraham Lincoln, they had kids, but they died, and that's part of what his wife she went off the deep end, and that's part of why, because she lost her kids. I'll be damned. He had a kid. He had a kid that grew up and he had kids, and he died like in 19 something, and he had his grandkids. I think that line is completely gone now. Did you know Abraham had a kid that lived?
A surviving child.
Yeah. Did you know this?
So history, the true history, is often written one way, but we often remember or have concepts of things that are very different. So we're saying, which is the true reality? What actually happened? Or have we jumped a timeline? Have we created a parallel universe, or has something collapsed, a timeline collapse, where we were on this path and now we're on this path and there is a living child?
There was, and I did not realize that he.
No, I didn't know.
Yeah, and I mean, he was active, but you have never heard anything about him. So that was a really, really interesting one.
So for some people who've never had this Mandela effect, it seems weird. Like this is history. This is how it's written. This is how it happened. But for people who are having this experience, it is so real. So you guys jump in if you've had this Mandela effect, where you know it happened one way and now reality is showing you that it's a completely different story. Let us know, because there are many, many people coming forward saying, I'm having this kind of thing regularly.
Well, and there is this person, and I'm really hoping to have her on the show. She's incredible. She's a
Carrie's giving you shit.
What are you saying, Kerry?
I hear you talking about Lincoln, but what do you know about George?
Stop it. I have the rest of my hair down. She always says I look like George Washington.
When she has her hair up and fuzzy in the front, Kerry calls her George Washington. So.
She does.
All right, sorry. I digress.
So, Cynthia Sue... say her last name. Larson. She is a quantum physics. I mean, she's phenomenal. She is brilliant, and again, I want her on the show. So she delves into a lot of this, and the time jumping, and the parallels and the different lines. So did you know that once you're on a line and once you acknowledge the shift, you don't go back, and it's all happens here. But like if I go back and try to find that all of
Lincoln's children
kids
are
died,
dead,
you're not going to find it. Right. And so I have a list, and my sweet friends from Mexico this weekend, I took this list. I made, I read all these things, and they're about half and halves.
Half
some
remember
of them.
one reality, half the other.
Yeah, it was really, really interesting. Everything from, I didn't realize that I'd always known that the capital of Arizona was Flagstaff. It's not.
It's Phoenix.
It's Phoenix, I know. And Utah's capital I thought was Provo.
No.
Well, no, it's Salt Lake.
Yeah.
You must be living in a different reality than me.
Well, I have kids, and we're always learning the states, so.
But it's just, or the Lindenberg baby. I thought they never found the killer and never found the baby. They did.
Oh, I didn't know anything about that one.
Yeah, they found him and they tried him and they convicted him. And so there are all these different things that we all, and then you kind of say to yourself, well, maybe I just got that wrong. Maybe you didn't. Maybe it's a different timeline. And they said that it's an awareness piece, and that when your awareness is there, it'll look just like here, but a little bit different.
Well, and there's some bleed over, and it makes you kind of question, like, wait, which one am I in? Am I in over here? Am I in over here? I remember that one, but it gets kind of fuzzy, and you can't find the evidence for it anymore.
Or you knew you knew that there was this place that you used to eat and it was right there. And just yesterday you were right there and the place is closed and it's gone. It's like, what happened? You know, it's those types of things, or there are these glitches. And she talks a lot about these like things that will happen like right in a row. Like you'll walk in and then you walk in again. And it's like, didn't you just walk in? I mean, there are all these little random things. Or you put, you know, like I know I have a comb and I go to find the comb's not there. And then I'll go back and the comb's there. It's like, how did that happen? Isn't that cool?
Strange things. So if you're just joining us, it's Tiffanie and Kerry with the Joyride Show. We are talking about time and looking at it through a metaphysical lens, quantum physics and time-space continuum, and that time is not as concrete as our human biology sort of tends to think. It's daytime, it's nighttime, yesterday, tomorrow. There's a lot of wiggle room going around, and people who are kind of tapped into other realms, other dimensions, can speak to spirit, feel energy, are very aware of this. And for those that are not even asking, like, why would we question time? It's a construct. It's permanent.
Nothing's permanent.
So we love playing with these ideas because we are definitely feeling it. I was listening to Bruce Lipton. I love Bruce Lipton. He does a lot of the biology of belief and how your body physically responds to all your thoughts. And he was saying your biology doesn't know what time it's in. If you're in a dream, and we're like, well, this is time because I can feel this solid thing. This happened yesterday. This happens tomorrow. He goes, when you're in a dream, it feels real. Time is very different in your dream. Something can happen very fast, or it feels like it's a really long dream. How do we know which one is the actual reality? Because our biology is physically responding to all of it. Mm-hmm. So how do we know which one is real? How do we know what reality we're actually living in?
It just feels real at the time. I mean, like right now, this feels real. Okay, but I have Miss Hill, Birdie. I believe that. I believe that your husband jumps timelines. He is that kind of cat, man. He's amazing.
Okay, Milan is saying, so it's like timelines blur together. Yes, they can. Okay, Mr. Jack Lewis, I'm not sure what you're going on about here. There's some whole...
I don't know.
Thing. If we can save that, this isn't really the forum that we're at today. If you want to chat privately, I'm happy to talk to you, but I'm not sure what that is relevant to our topic today. Thank you.
Okay, so I think it is sort of timelines that blur, but it's more that it. Okay, so there are infinite timelines, and there are infinite. Every choice we make leads us to a different path, and it creates our world. And so it could be that we hop a timeline and everything looks the exact same except that one thing, or that one recall, or that one. I have one. I couldn't find my ID. For months, couldn't find my ID. And I thought, my kids have been playing my wallet. Yes, I know I'm not supposed to let them do that, but they did. We take it where we can get it sometimes. And they were playing, ID's gone. I'm leaving, going out of town. I need my ID. And I mean, I've torn my wallets apart. I've turned everything upside down. I go back. There it is. It's right there.
It's right
like
there.
Right where I would have left it. So that's a freaky one.
Yeah. Jennifer is saying, I'll talk to my mother about something that happened when I was a child or a teenager, and she'll tell me that I was wrong in my recollection, but I can clearly remember things, and she'll say that wasn't the way it was. And you can't even argue because her reality is very different from your reality.
And you believe it, right?
That perception definitely plays a huge part.
Well, and especially if it's your mom, it's like, well, I guess she was older, and I guess I do. There have been things. My brother had this model airplane thing outside his door, and I just remember I got spanked for breaking it. I didn't break it. To this day, I will tell you I did not break that damn thing. And they all say, yes, I did. I know I didn't break it. I think Kelly just pulled one over me. I think that was actually somebody being naughty. Jack's on the wrong show. Kerry, I think you might be right. Sorry, Jack.
And Phil Carker's that talk about jumping timelines. That's a ghost from the past. He's somebody. Do you know the Carker family?
Aren't there?
Kerry went
there
to
were
Klein Oak.
Multiple of you people,
Yes,
right?
Kerry went to Klein Oak High School too.
I dated Dan DeVries. Was he buddies with Dan?
I bet they were. The Mortons and the Carkers and all those guys.
Kelly
around. So
Powell is my brother. He still is.
Yeah, small world. Hi, Carker family. Good to see you guys. Love you. Okay. And he's having a crawfish festival in Old Town Spring, and that's where Kerry lives, up in Old Town Spring. So go get
Kerry,
yourself some crawfish. All right, we're getting off, but isn't it funny how worlds collide here?
So Andy, I want to talk to her. Okay, so it occurred to me in July 2016 that there's a Mandela. Very cool. That's about, I think, the time I saw it too.
The timeline of, Andy jumped to a different memory or a different timeline during an early morning dream. And guides told me we can switch timelines. We can do this at will. Some people in my life are different now, different personalities. The timeline I visited, I have no real memory, but I know that place exists. That is so true, because that's what I was saying about Bruce Lipton. We can go back into our past and rewrite. We think it's permanent. It happened. It cannot be influenced. But we can go back, and I've experienced this with my EFT and tapping. If there's a painful childhood memory or something, we'll go back into the memory with the EFT work and empower that little person to feel strong and safe in their body and make a different decision and change the outcome. And I believe that that reality exists, and it affects your timeline now. It totally can change the whole dynamic of your life when you change the past. You can change the past. You can change what it means to you, and that affects your vibration, your energy, your frequency of it.
You did that for me. So I kept having these bad dreams, and we kind of found the root of the whole bad dream, and you rewrote the story. Instead of being, oh my gosh, I went through this, it was, oh wow, I went through that. That's cool. And it really did affect it. Like, it rewired my brain.
But I believe that reality also exists now.
Oh.
In another way. So in EFT
That's
world, we call that
on the edge.
We call that matrix re-imprinting, where you can literally go back into your matrix of different timelines and reprogram them, reprint them, and they all influence this lifetime.
So that was, okay, so here's one, and I know if you've watched, I know that you have heard this story, but so I had I don't know if it was a dream, I guess it was a dream. It was one of those dreams that don't feel like dreams. And I was at Bikram yoga, and I woke up. They let me, at the end you just sort of lay down and try not to die. And so I was laying there, and they let me sleep. But apparently there was another class that came in, like, okay, you got to get up and go. And I woke up, and I was
This is all happening in the dream.
Right. And it was really groggy, and I was really just sort of out of it. And I look around, and the studio's different. Like, everything's different, but it was so detailed. Like, I could see the wood, and the wood was different, and the cubbies, and all of it. So the girl was just sort of not too sure what was going on with me. So she walks me out to my car, and it's my car from like 1994. And this, allegedly, in this dream, the time frame was probably around, I don't know, 2011. And so I'm looking around, it's like, okay, I guess this is my car. So I get in the car and I leave, and I go home to my current home. I have told this story. And to my current home, and which we've lived here for a long time, and I'm, husband, kids. And there are these two elderly folks out in the front yard doing yard work. And so, not really sure who they are. That's nice. Anybody comes and does your yard. And they lived there for a long, long, long time. And so I was really confused. So I call husband.
In your dream, you drive to your current home, and it's there, but there's other people living in your current home. You're like, wait a minute. You call husband.
Mm-hmm. And he answers the phone. Carrie Powell, how are you? And it was just like, what? And he says something about it's been a long time since we've spoken. And what I understand that to mean now is that was a very real timeline. And so it showed back up when it collapsed. Like, and timelines, the way timelines work, the more energy you feed them, the brighter they are. Like, I see them as these wires, kind of like, you walk a wire, and it's this wire, and they're really bright. And then some of them are smaller. There are things you get really excited about, and you put energy into, and you're like, it's really not going to work. So you kind of shift gears. And but the more you put into one, the bigger it gets, the more it's fed. And making a decision to go to this school versus that school, or date this guy versus that guy, or whatever. And so those timelines grow, and they become more impactful. But most of them fall away as life goes by, and you're left with a few of them. And Wendy and I talk about that. Is it Wendy? Wendy and I talk about that, about how ultimately you want your timelines to fall away, and you're on the timeline, like your designated timeline. Wendy, weigh in on that, because I think that's, I don't think we ever really rode that timeline to the end. So it is. So that's the ideal.
Well, there's so many movies like this now. Like, I'm thinking of that Gwyneth Paltrow one, Sliding Doors, where she didn't
make my hair because of her.
She didn't make the train and came back and caught her husband in an affair, and just went off on this whole thing and got her own business. And I won't give away the story if you haven't seen it. And then there's another story where she didn't, and she stayed in that life. And the parallel lives, the parallel stories, they both exist, and we're getting to watch them simultaneously. It's really a cool movie. But there's so many. What's the one with Leonardo DiCaprio where he's in all the, you never know which actual reality he's in? Oh, the name just jumped out of my head. Y'all will know what I'm talking
How's
about.
that not mentally ill? I mean, we do call that mentally ill sometimes. Maybe we're not. Maybe we're just existing in a different place.
Okay, I'm going to talk about Bashar. For those of you that know Daryl Anka, who channels Bashar, who comes through with so much cool information, he had something that's always stuck with me.
Greg Bauer.
Is that we can definitely hop to different time frames in this infinite universe, and there's an infinite number of timelines all simultaneously coexisting. They're all parallel, but they're different. And Bashar, for those of you that don't know him, he's an Essassani. How do I explain him? He's a fifth dimensional civilization, the Essassani civilization, and that there is only one moment in all of creation. Time is an illusion created by consciousness, which you were saying, and he uses that film strip analogy, and that their ships, they've understood how time and space are just factors in an object's, you've got width, depth, height, weight, volume. Time and space are also just factors of this thing's existence. So we haven't figured out how to separate that yet and plug into it and program
say that
it.
again.
Oh.
You can do it. You can do it.
You can do it. Okay, that, how am I going to say this where it's making sense?
Just say it.
Okay, that their ships understand that time and space are just factors in some things.
Are you talking about traveling?
Yeah, so
Okay.
when they travel through, they don't travel through time. It doesn't take 1,000 years to get from here to here. They understand that this time and place and space, they understand how to program it and focus on it, and boop, they're just there.
So
Does that make sense?
So they have it's not a coordinate based on longitude, latitude. It's based on time. So it's a dimension piece, and so they can say, okay, I really want to go to this dimension, this time, boom, and that's how they do it. It's like they put their awareness there. They also, from what I understand, there's a movie about this right now too, out on Netflix, a show. It's called Travelers. That they have come back, and actually David Wilcock talks about this too. The Anshar, I believe, that there are these different races that come back to monkey with the timelines because we really screw it up, and so there are these different key events that really reshape history, but in the future, and it kind of wipes these different folks out. So they come back and say, okay, let's fix it.
Inception. Everybody's saying Inception. Yes, that's what it is.
I never saw that one. It looked scary.
It's a mind trip, and then I won't give it away, but you're like, wait, I had it. No, I don't have it. I think,
Is that the one where he
lost
goes
it.
to that house, like that creepy?
Yeah, you just have to watch it. Okay. The time, location and space, time and location and space are variables of an object, and they can decide on those variables, and then they're there. And we don't yet know this, but we all have this ability to change our vibration, and where you put your time, your mental energy, you put that energy into that stream, that's where you show up. We've got a little bit of lag time. We don't understand yet how to just plug into that different reality, but we have the ability to hop to these alternate realities by lining up vibrationally with it, and then you're there, and then it is your physical, tangible reality.
So what they do is
Right?
Yes, and they talk about how if you do have to get vibrationally, sort of the law of attraction, but you do have to get vibrationally in line with it. And they talk about the future and the past, and they shake hands. And that's where you can create, that's why people, they spontaneously, they call them miracles, but they spontaneously heal, or they spontaneously, you don't know if they just hopped a timeline. Like, I want to be well, or I want to be over there, or I want to be funny, or I want to be whatever it is you want to be, that you can create that and instantly by just hopping timelines. So that's an interesting thing.
Well, it is, and if you believe in, it has to take this amount of time and this amount of work and this amount of money to get there, if that's your belief, that will be your reality. But if you are more fluid with this concept of time and jumping parallel lines, you can kind of get out of that the
That
rules.
box.
You got to get out of the rules that
The
we all have
structure.
believed in, and that's when the weird shit happens.
No, that's not when the weird shit happens.
Yes, it
that's
is.
when
That's when
life
stuff
gets
you-
fucking fun.
I know, but that's when
it
you
gets
can't
fun.
explain it to people. You just like, I just jumped to a different reality. I just totally healed myself. It happens. It's true.
It really does, and it is like they talk about things that are lost and how you can find and place things, and you can find things that are lost, and it's really that you're bringing it back. You're manifesting it. Yep.
Wendy's answering your question.
All right. So, Miss Wendy. Sorry, my eyes
She
are
says,
going bad.
right, Carrie, so every single decision we make affects our reality. You can read it.
No, you go.
Every decision. As we move through life, we're stepping more definitively onto a timeline, and those that don't resonate collapse. We clear timelines in our dream state and current awake state. So as we come into alignment, we create our reality or timeline more clearly. In other words, we can be kind of running along different timelines back and forth, commit to one, and that becomes our reality.
Well said,
Right?
Wendy. Yes, absolutely. And that is, did you ever see the Adjustment
Bureau.
Oh, it's so
Yes.
great. And they have these books on each of us. And as we make a decision, the lines really aren't drawn yet. They draw. And I mean, they kind of play out. So I always wonder, but that's where I get messed up, because if I can change, because I believe my timeline, I did the work, that was a potential that my life would have gone in a completely different direction, as all of ours could. And that was a potential, but then I decided to do the work, and I decided to clean up my, all my garbage from back here. And I was able to have the life I wanted to create. So, but if that's the case, and if it all happens at once, then is it all predetermined? Dun, dun. I don't know.
Well, I believe we come here with certain lessons to learn or
Road
paths
signs.
to follow.
Yeah.
And that you are going to intersect with those, and then you have the free will to decide, what do I do with it? What do I
Right.
make it mean of me?
This,
So this is from the Channeling Eric blog. Love channelingeric.com, channeling Eric with a K. And one of Elisa's posts all about time is that your life has a number of events which require some to be completed before others are began. So they must intersect precisely with many other events and people. So the matrix of our existence here, with infinite depth, width, and height, is simply stretched, squeezed, reshaped to place these experience files or little windows into a certain order to be opened, populated with details, the incidents, outcomes, images, and interactions with all the pieces of memories, and then refilled with this invaluable information. So we're here to learn all this. So it's a constant. Oh, how my brain just kind of.
I love it when you go.
My brain just
do the
popped.
popping noise. I love that. So my guides told me, and again, I'm sorry if you've already heard this, but my guides told me that day, it was one of those go into that vision, and it was they showed me, it was like this huge infinite room, and there was like a kiosk, and there were guides, there were people working each kiosk, and there was a holographic, like a hologram going on at each one, and it was each of our lifetimes playing out. And they said that it's infinite. It really is, with each choice. But what we do today affects the timeline from back in the whenever, and that what they do then affects us. I mean, which we get that part, My dad moves, then our family lives there. I mean, you get that part. But it's the going backwards that I think is really interesting. That what I can do now will heal. And that's what you were saying with
EFT.
tapping, yeah. That it goes, isn't that funny? I can't say that word. It's tapping, and it sounds like the word. But it goes all the way back there. I mean, so you are manipulating these timelines all over the place. So by healing and doing the work, you're cleaning up generations of stuff. I mean, and you're affecting your mother, your grandmother. You're affecting all of it backwards. And I pretend I really get that, and I really don't. But I'll sit with it. I'll ask the guides.
And the concept that World War II is happening right now,
Duh.
and prehistoric dinosaurs roaming is happening right now, and space age living on Mars is happening right now, and that we are able to we incarnate into, like, I'm going to go be a Nazi in Germany in the 40s. This is going to be a doozy of a lifetime, and then I'm going to be a cowboy in Old West, and your soul is right now living these multiple incarnations,
flipping the channels
in different timelines, billions of times per second. These decisions are changing, and so My mind you can't even conceive of how does that work.
I got it. The answer is 9. No, I'm kidding. It is
42.
It's, you're watching.
Thank you for the fish.
Do you know how when you watch the they all say it, the frequencies and you change the channel. That's all it is. You're just changing the channel. That's it. Right now we're on channel 185B. I mean, and then we can switch and we can be, and it's all happening on the same television set. Sorry guys, the same screen at the same time. And you can watch a World War II. You can watch this. You can watch that. So maybe that's a better way to kind of grasp that tiny concept or that huge concept with my little
and
tiny
past
brain.
life regressions. We have Nora Yolis Young on today. She's here on the feed, and Nora is a regressionist, a hypnotherapist, and can take people back through past lives or future lives. And the reason we do that is to help us understand and influence this current incarnation. You can do it for entertainment, just to see where you're at, where you've been, what other things you're learning. But this is so cool to bring it back and say, oh, that's why I do that. What?
Carrie says, hi, Panera.
Oh.
I mean, are you there so much that you're
Well,
not
Sarah's
up?
on too. Sarah Panera.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about the food place.
You're at the dock getting a breathing treatment.
sorry,
I know.
honey.
Sarah, Carrie's had the crud. We had it too all last week, and it was no bueno. Our family, Daniel did. No bueno. Okay. Thanks, everybody. This is so fun. Okay,
It
Nora
is
is saying,
much
I
fun.
tell you about it, Carrie. It's transmutation for the collective present, past, and future. I'll tell you about it.
What if what if we didn't think that we had to die at 80 or 90?
Oh, Sarah is her grandpa. She is her grandpa, so wrap your head around that.
my own grandpa.
When I talk to him, I'm talking to me. And we both just had readings with...
Thank you, Sarah. This was a great segue.
Yes, with medium Georgia O'Connor, who we had on the show last week. And we were both able to speak with our family and spirit. But Carrie had a great reading with her...
So my husband's father came through, and I have not spoken with him. She's so funny because she talks. She's from New York, and you hear that, and then all of a sudden she sounds like she's from South Carolina. And but Emma had said this too. He was giving me advice for my youngest son, who is actually him. And I was like, well, okay. Do you want
So
me
your
to...
husband's father is also your husband's son.
Correct.
They're the same soul incarnated in two separate. Your husband's father's passed away,
Right.
and son is still obviously here.
Yep. And he had great advice, and he had great, he weighed in. He's like, I'll step back unless you want me to keep talking. Because I have a lot to say about Jack, too. I'm like, oh, well, bring it. It was just so nice. And, and he was also my father. He's like, I've been your father many times, and I've, your husband's been your brother. And anyway, it was really a nice reading.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah. Yeah, it's really cool. She's incredible. So, yeah.
So when you're talking to your grandpa, Sarah, you're talking to yourself. Well, if we understand we're all one, thinking we have a separate identity, thinking we're having all these separate lives, but we're really all having. So when I see somebody on the news that's having, it's a mass serial killer, I'm like, he's me. He's having a very different experience on the other end of the spectrum, but he's me. Like, what is that? That
doesn't feel good. I don't like that feeling.
But it is. We
Well,
came
it's not
here
about
to
him.
explore the full spectrum of humanity, all the way from hate, rage, anger, murder to light, love, enlightenment, healing. We came here to experience all of it, and that soul decided, I'm going to go play over on this fringe end, and I'm like, okay, wow, that's intense.
That's true. It is, and it's not. I don't know. I just really I think I need my tree to branch.
Wait, what? I need my tree to
branch. I mean, Miles was asking me yesterday because I picked him up, my youngest one, I picked him up at school for lunch. He and I were having lunch, and we just went and sat in the car and ate lunch. And so he was listening to this tape from my talk with her, and he's really funny because he's just taking it all in, and he's just going, yeah, she's right. I mean, I do. That is me. And he said, so explain it to me. So I drew a tree, and then I drew a branch, and I said, see, it's all the same tree, and here, this tree branches, and then off of the branch come the different sticks and the different, I like my tree to branch. I just like it. And I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday, and she was, she's kind of new to all this, and she was saying, oh, this other person in Houston, and she's just not very nice. And it's like, yeah, but that's her experience, and she needs that experience. And we were talking about how when things don't feel good, you walk into them and find out why, and that's an opportunity.
But you were telling me about the same person that this person had a horrible experience with, and I was like, well, I know that person. I've had a delightful experience with them.
There you go.
Like, it's just totally the way we related to it. So
Yeah,
I hope this made some kind of sense. We're kind of going all around time and space that doesn't exist.
Yeah,
but it's such a fascinating...
It is, and it just starts to think and practice. Okay, so go to her website. Her website is realityshifters.com, and it's Cynthia Sue Larson, and she's incredible. And she has, she can put it in a way because her background is science, and she's just the lightest being ever. And she can show you like how to jump and give you ideas of how to switch things and how to move around and how to tell if you've jumped parallels or if you've jumped timelines and how how to see it. And I just think it's magnificent.
Well, and also understanding that as we move through this shift, that time is accelerating. It is moving faster for us. We are manifesting faster. And the Channeling Eric blog again had said time will be seen as we go through this shift into the new age. Time will seem to accelerate, and calendar days will seem like they pass, giving a feeling that it's a quicker pace, often much quicker than we remembered the same number of days, like they used to take longer, but now it's happening faster. The effect is intentional and provided to lessen burdens on the fearful and bring fruition to the newer age to faster practice. Things will not be happening faster or slower. They never happen. They happen as sequenced. The feel and sensation will cause a greater eagerness in many people to look forward and embrace the next steps. That's kind of positive.
Yeah.
It is all happening faster, and it's getting us there quicker.
The quickening.
But it's not really happening.
Was the quickening...
The paradox.
See, here we go. I love this.
Oh, her
Hi,
look is
Pam.
Quantum jumps. Oh, Pam's joining us. Hi, guys.
I like our fringe and better than the serial killer, and it's a preference, not a judgment. Yeah, Carrie. So 14 is the new 17. I think that means you're aging us, right?
14 is the new 17? What does that mean?
I don't understand.
Like kids, age-wise? You guys are funny. Okay, so if you have great resources or ways to understand time or ways to use it to our benefit, but to really help
use
us.
It to our benefit.
Yeah, use it here. Like, how do we understand this so you can bend time to get where you need to go and understand those intuitive hits to get the next step in your creative process going faster? Or how to go back and clean up your crap from the past so that your present and your future is expanded, right?
Right.
Like, if you have resources, drop them in here so that we can share them with everybody in the Joy Tribe. We all have our own way of approaching things, and they're all beautiful.
Okay, so I remember one time asking Michelle, this person, she's incredible, Michelle Bonilla, and she was saying that I kept telling her I kept seeing like a card file, and it was like 1950s, and then all the cards behind it 1940s, all the cards behind it, and I said, what does that mean? Somehow you were saying something at my house earlier about
well, we talked about film strips, but also time can be thought of as a file, and they can be all shuffled around. Moments can be shuffled around to reformat time.
Oh, I have one. Oh, and I'll make this really quick. So before we date, one night we were all out, and Sonny had my ride drank too much, and so Charles took me home, and we sat and we talked for a long time. And I remember the car. I remember exactly the car. And later I came back and I said, oh, yeah, you had your friend's car, John. And he said, no, that wasn't his car. That was my car. I mean, he and I to this day do not agree on that. I'm telling you.
And Carrie is saying 17 seconds used to be the amount of time it took to change a belief. Now it's 14 seconds because shit got faster.
Oh, hi, Kelly. My brother's watching.
Oh, and Wendy is saying talk about time as a spiral. Well, we have about 30 seconds, so... Yes, I have understood. In one of my first books, Neil Donald Walsh, his Conversations with God series, he talks about time being, Neil Donald Walsh, time being on a spindle, and there were all spokes coming out of this one singular point, and it's all happening stacked on each other. So many ways we're trying to conceptualize this to understand it, but
it's a boggler. I don't know if we did.
I don't know if we did, but we had fun talking about it. I hope you guys had fun joining us, and we are,
what?
I'm just so grateful that we have a whole tribe on here. Everybody's chiming in.
Yes. And so, yes, you guys have an awesome week, too. Thank you, Miss Sue.
Benito Masuro on YouTube has helped me understand super accelerated living. Okay, great resources. Drop them in here if you know.
He's an interesting cat.
Ways to think about this, conceptualize this, that we can then use to help us here on the planet Earth. Thank you guys for joining us on Joyride. Tiffany
so
and
much fun.
Kerry talking about time.
Go subscribe. We need our numbers up. That's like a shameless bag, man.
We love you.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.